can you live through that even once in your life for 10 seconds or 10 minutes or 3 minutes like we watched there, and cope with the psychological effect that that would have on you? Well, you may as a soldier in the Great War only experience something like that once a month, or maybe once every 3 months, but you know it's coming to you. So it's almost like the thinking about it before it is worse than the actual war fighting, because you're running over in your mind. If somebody told me I had to go to the dentist next week, I'd think about nothing else from now to then. These guys were traumatized by the thought of going to the front line, worse than the experiences they had while they were in the front line. There was so much psychological effect on them. And how do you talk about something like that in a pub in Mullinavat in 1920 to anybody? Because they wouldn't believe you. They experienced that day in, day out for 4 years. And if they weren't doing the fighting, they were thinking about doing the fighting, which is nearly worse. The guys who were the lucky ones were the guys who were taken prisoners of war. Well, you could say, well, were they really? But at least the Geneva Convention was adhered to mostly by both sides, and guys were looked after. Here you see Father Crotty from Kilkenny City with a group of Irish soldiers, because their cap badges are all Irish, in Lindbergh POW camp in Dierkirchen in Germany. So that he spent a lot of his time, and in that same camp, Roger Casement tried to raise the Irish Brigade to go back as ex-POWs to fight in the Easter Rising for Ireland. Because the Germans said, yeah, come on over, you can take everybody that wants to change uniforms and fight on your behalf. In 1916 you can have them, but no, very few guys actually took up the offer. Because why? Because at the end of the day they were loyal to their buddies and they were loyal to their uniforms. They returned, God love them. That's all I can say. Anybody that came back home after the war came home to, nobody wanted to listen to them. 1916 had happened. 1919, the War of Independence would happen, start in January 1919. The guys weren't home by the war ended in November, but the guys didn't start to get home until, the mid part of 1919. The guys came home traumatized, shell-shocked, badly, like guys would only sleep outside for the rest of their lives. I know people who slept out in the hay shed I've heard stories, I don't know them personally, of guys who slept in the open for the rest of their lives because they lived in fear of the roofs collapsing from over their heads. The really unlucky ones when they came home ended up in St. Canice's, the asylum, the mental asylum. There's a guy from Johnstown who came home off the train, was brought straight to the asylum, signed in by his mother, and in 1955 his sister got a notification saying her brother had died. She thought he died in the Great War. His mother was so ashamed and didn't know how to cope, she signed him in to the asylum. Now that's only one of about 30 or 40 guys that ended up like that. There was no love for them when they came home, and we hadn't the capability to treat them anyway. But that was what happened. And then everything changed. We got a new, in 1917, this year is the centenary of the election, this election here, of W.T. Cosgrave as the Sinn Féin member for Kilkenny. And the political scene staged, and we started thinking much more about extracting ourselves from from Britain, than we did about war fighting for Britain. And then the War of Independence started. And we know how, the 9 battalions of the Kilkenny Brigade and how they all fought, and 8 and 9 battalion are from down this end, and Sinnis Cross was so successful. But here's the thing, and we all, everybody talks about the British soldiers, the soldiers that came home, they were traitors because they didn't fight again. I'll just put it like this. If you put on your boots in 1914, and you didn't take them off till 1918, or at any stage you joined up subsequent, after 14. You're only getting home and sit down and have a cup of tea and somebody said, will you come and fight again? You might be inclined to say, lads, I've had enough. Our War of Independence was fought. Lots of the guys did go again, But could you really blame now, with the benefit of 100 years looking back, on a guy who didn't want to fight again? And then they were ostracised. 4 Kilkenny men, ex-servicemen, were shot dead as traitors in Kilkenny during our War of Independence. 2 in Tullerone, 1 in Castlecomer, and 1 was executed by drowning in Great Demana. They tied 2 stones around his feet and threw him into the river Barrow, and the reason they gave was they were too close to the RIC barracks to hear the noise of the shot going off. That's the love we gave our returned veterans from the Great War. And then, in 1922, we took over the barracks, the British withdrew, we won our War of Independence, even though it was called a truce and whatever. You couldn't say deny us our win. But then we decided we needed to fight among ourselves. And that caused our Civil War executions. And one of the Civil War executions that happened in Kilkenny, and there were 2 at least, was Private John Murphy. And John Murphy was actually a Bennis Bridge man who was a Royal Artillery soldier, but his first unit was the 9th Battalion Royal Dublin Fusiliers, where he kind of deserted from it to join the Royal Artillery. And he then re-engaged the Civil War on the Republican side, was captured after being found in possession of a gun, and executed by Irishmen in Kilkenny barracks. So there's a guy who fought in the British Army uniform, went on the Republican side, and that's what how we ended his life. So I have to read this now. I'm coming pretty close to the end, if you bear with me. Forgetting the missing 40,000 and equally accomplished vanishing trip of the 200,000 that survived and returned home proved to be easy in Ireland, we have brilliant selective amnesia. We can forget what we don't want to remember very easily in Ireland. We're excellent at it. Official Ireland had no problem in not knowing about this uncomfortable part of our history. Southern Protestants meekly went along with the new reality, reserving their memories of Remembrance Sunday and the poppy discreetly worn under an overcoat. We all have our issues with the poppy, but the poppy was designed by an American lady as a symbol of loss. And then it got hijacked, and we couldn't associate it with so much, or certain parts of Irish society refused to associate it. This is Kevin O'Higgins, whose own brother died in the Great War, and he said, "No one denies the sacrifice and no one denies the patriotic motives which induced the vast majority of men to join the British Army and to take part in the Great War. Yet it is not their sacrifice that this date is based, and I have no desire to see it suggested that it is." However, post-war independence, Ireland was not composed solely of Kevin O'Higgins. Several county councils, including Wexford, Cork and Tipperary, voted not to employ ex-servicemen, and also voted to particularly withhold any educational grants from the children of ex-servicemen. That was the Irish reality. That's the thanks we give these returning soldiers for their service. The rewards, and I'm not too sure if any of these exist in South Kilkenny. I know there are approximately 38 or maybe 40 in Kilkenny. Generally, the biggest single development, these are the soldiers' homes, houses for heroes. There's a big scheme out Shock in Callan. There's, I think, 17 individual or joint semi-detached houses around Thomastown. Great Demana has a couple. This one is in Bennis Bridge. And this was a scheme that they started post-World War I in order to house returning ex-servicemen, but never enough were built. The biggest scheme is in Killester in Dublin. The rewards that you may have at home, or you may see. These are the medals that were awarded for general service during the Great War. You had the 1914 or the 1914-15 Star, the War Medal and the Victory Medal. A poor return for your son's life. Now, the memorial effect. Where do we get this Irish thing about memorials, and why is it so important that we now engage with the building of our Kilkenny Great War Memorial? We have used memorials in Ireland forever. We're brilliant at it. If I ask you, like, who's on the right here is James Larkin. We all remember him as being... So when you see different memorials, their purpose is to have a mnemonic effect. In other words, a trigger in your brain to make you remember something. So for instance, you cannot walk up Merchant's Quay, if this were this called, and the famine memorial and not think, the famine. Its purpose is to make them remember. The Canadians do it brilliantly. This is Beaumont Hamel. Here's a caribou. The Newfoundlanders, actually, they weren't Canadians until the 1930s. This is a caribou cast in bronze, calling her children home. The lost Newfoundlanders from the Somme battlefield in a place called Beaumont Hamel. This place is actually gifted to the Canadian people. When you enter Beaumont Hamel, you're met by a Canadian citizen and given a full tour if you want it for free. So you can't do things on a small scale. You can commemorate small events with a small memorial. So size is important in relation to the memory and the significant individual memory of every soldier who died and nurse, because you have to commemorate them by name. And to do that, you have to have a substantially large memorial. Here's a beautiful memorial in the UK, and it is just a soldier sitting down and thinking to himself for a moment. The British got over the problem of the no grave by having the unknown warrior in Westminster Abbey, and it became a massive, important. Everybody, I'd say, during their lifetime in the UK, post-Great War, visited here once, because this was, instead of visiting their son in Flanders, they went here. But this was never really a possibility for Irish people. So who does war memorials? Here's the Waterford Great War Memorial. It's lovely. It's in Dungarvan on John's Castle. Here is the Mayo Isle Peace Park. Beautiful. Here is Carlow's lovely dome-shaped, almost like the Menin Gate in miniature, which contains the names of every Carlow man who died in the Great War. And what's lovely about this place is when you're sitting there, you're alongside the River Barrow. Here's the wooden bridge one for the Wicklow Great War Day. So every county is engaged now at this stage in coming to the final part of it. And here is Callan, County Kilkenny, with their parish memorial to the people who fought, died and survived during the Great War. Now, it's impossible to do a county-wide memorial with 3,129 names, but the people who really need to be commemorated are the people who have graves or no graves or lost at sea, but died on a foreign soil and were never brought home because their families, as I've already said, never got the expression of going to their graves. And the island, this is if you're ever in Dublin again, please take your time to visit the World War I Memorial, designed by a fellow called Edward Lutyens, and it's in Island Bridge in Dublin. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place, particularly in late summer when the roses are full bloom. All the Great War graveyards in France, Flanders, or anywhere in the world are fully maintained by the Commonwealth War Grave Commission. Brilliant. You will not find a blade of grass out of place ever. They're beautifully maintained. But that didn't help the feelings of emptiness and loss felt by mothers, wives, sweethearts, sisters. And I picked the feminine side because it was mostly men and even today, men in Ireland don't talk about their feelings. I'd say that's fair. But women did, but they couldn't in this case because their loved ones had fought in the wrong uniform. Funny enough, the Kaiser lived until 1941. He died an old man in Belgium, or in Holland, and the King lived happily until 1936. They had full and happy and hearty and very affluent lives, and they never went hungry, I'd hazard to guess. So the people who started the war didn't end with the war. They went on and lived long lives. And funnily enough, Gavrilo Princip, a few years ago in Serbia, is now honoured as a hero. So it's come full circle. Gavrilo Princip, who died in jail a couple of years after the start of the war, who shot Archduke Ferdinand, is now commemorated as a hero in Serbia. So the whole wheel has gone full circle. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to the end. I just want to say this, and when I say the last line here, I'm going to say it a second time. And if you feel like saying it a second time, maybe a little few words will be heard somewhere by God knows guys who left here 100 years ago, never to return. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember